Hi, my name is Robert. For the last month, my life has turned into a real hell, and that's because of one stupid incident. Well, I became a real outcast at school. You see, they forbade me to approach girls. At all. But I don't look like a maniac or a dangerous criminal, do I? Want to know what happened? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. By the way, subscribe to our channel to watch incredible life stories. Watch all the videos and don't forget to like and comment. Stay tuned and click the bell button to never miss new stories. Okay, keep watching. Well, I'm going to start my story from afar. As long as I can remember, I have always been very fond of various animals. Domestic or wild, doesn't matter. When I came to visit my relatives on the farm, I could spend hours with the horses, goats, and cows. I took care of them, fed them, walked and played with them. I often asked my mom and dad to buy me a cat or a dog, but they always repeated I was not old enough yet, and I would not be able to take responsibility for someone else's life, even if it is just a dog or a cat. However, my parents were always happy to take me to the zoo and safari parks. They gave me books about animals. I like to collect different encyclopedias, so no wonder why at 15 I already knew everything about all the animals. For example, if someone named me an animal, I can name the continent and even the country where it lives. I could easily tell where migratory birds like to fly in winter. I knew the rarest species of butterflies in the world, and I knew what the royal python likes to eat. Oh yeah, pythons. I don't know why, but they were my favorite animal from the reptiles. By the way, do you know that today there are about 5,000 species of reptiles in the world? The species differ in color, habitat, size, and behavior. They are so different, it's so interesting. For example, some of them are listed in the Red Book. When some traveling exhibitions with the exotic animals came to our city, I was the first in line for tickets. And then I could walk around there for hours, looking at every lizard, spider, or snake. Of course, my mom didn't understand my hobby, but she couldn't do anything about it. While other guys my age were fond of computer games, friends, and even dating girls, I watched movies about animals and fell asleep with the encyclopedias in my hands. Once, our whole family went on vacation to Thailand. I was looking forward to our trip because my parents promised me we would go to a nature reserve where animals live in a natural environment. And I met my first friend at the hotel. Well, it was not a hotel, but a guest house. We rented it with our parents for the vacation. After a long flight, we all went to bed. I almost fell asleep at once, but suddenly I felt something. Or rather, someone. It fell on me. When I opened my eyes, I noticed a small gecko next to me. Well, some other guys would be scared, but I perfectly knew that this little guy was harmless. Geckos are not dangerous to humans. The only harm they do is leaving their excrements in the corners. I thought, after noticing me, the little one would immediately run away, but he turned out to be quite a curious fellow. So for a while, we just played a peekaboo game. I decided to take it in my hand, but even then, he did not run away. It only got more curious. That's how I found my first pet. Chinchin, the species name, did not run away. He always sat quietly in my hands. When I put him in a jar, he just fell asleep. As the owner of the house explained to me later, the Chinchin was probably once a domestic one, so he probably ran away from his owner or got lost. In any case, he was not a wild one. Otherwise, it would have run away right after he saw me. They are very scared of people. I can't say my mom was delighted that a lizard lived with us. That's what she called my gecko. But she did not object anyway. After all, she was sure after our vacation I would release Chinchin. But I decided I would take him with me. Even if my hometown was not suitable for geckos because of the climate conditions, I could always buy an aquarium with a special lamp and put some sand in there. I gave my parents a 3-hour lecture on how I would take care of my gecko. In the end, they were so tired of listening to me, they didn't mind me taking my Chinchin with me. Yes, I even gave him a nickname. I was so happy. Finally, I got my own pet. And it's not a cat or a dog, it's a reptile. And I adored reptiles. Of course, we faced a lot of questions at the airport because it's not like tourists take out a gecko as a souvenir every day. But in the end, everything turned out quite well. I flew home, clutching a jar to my chest, and inside my gecko pet was sleeping. At home, as I promised to my parents, I quickly arranged everything for Chinchin. We bought a special terrarium, filled it with sand, stones, and bought lamps that maintained a high temperature. I constantly kept the terrarium clean. I needed live insects to feed the gecko. Cockroaches, flies, worms, crickets, small spiders. Mom didn't even want to hear about it. So I bought the food for Chinchin by myself in special stores. Once, I met my classmate Tom in one of these stores. He was surprised and asked me for whom I was buying such an unusual food. I replied I had a gecko now, living at my house, but Tom didn't believe it. He said I was lying because he had never heard of anyone keeping a live lizard at home. I don't know why I got mad at Tom's words then, but I promised him the next day I would bring Chinchin to school and show him to everyone. If I had known then what would happen, I would have never brought my exotic pet to school to show him. At home, Chinchin always sat on my shoulder, so I thought there would be no problem with bringing him to school. I carefully put him in my inner pocket, having previously hidden the heating pad there. I came to school, went to my classroom, and sat down at my desk. I saw Tom walking towards me, and I decided it was time for everyone to know Chinchin. But who knew my little pet would not be ready to meet a lot of people at all? I took Chinchin out of my pocket, put him on my shoulder, but as soon as Tom got closer, the gecko got frightened. He jumped somewhere behind my back. Turning around, I noticed he was sitting on the notebook of my classmate Lina. I wanted to take Chinchin back. Apparently, he got even more frightened. So he climbed up Lina's blouse and hid, in the neckline. Honestly, I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time because my first thought was to save Chinchin. I rushed to Lina's side and grabbed her breasts, getting my hands under her blouse. I think you can imagine how it looked from the outside. The girl, engrossed in conversation with her friend, did not notice the gecko in her blouse, and she was horrified when I grabbed her. I tried to find Chinchin in Lina's bra, fearing he might get hurt, and Lina screamed at me to get my hands off her. Apparently, Chinchin was scared again and decided to leave his hiding place, but he did not find a better place than Megan's shirt. She was Lina's desk mate. He disappeared into the neckline of her blouse. I had no choice but to rush to Megan now. Anyway, a real madness started in the classroom. The girls were screaming loudly. They were trying to pull me away from Megan. But how could I leave my gecko? I calmed down only when I felt its slippery body in my hands when pulling it out of Megan's blouse. However, I did not have any time to celebrate my victory because my classmates started accusing me. They really thought I had brazenly molested Lina and Megan. The girls started beating me. The guys tried to calm them down. I don't know how it would have ended if it hadn't been for the teacher, who entered the classroom and stopped everything with her loud scream. The teacher didn't even try to understand the situation. She heard the girls screaming that I was groping them, so she kicked me out of class and said she would call my parents in the evening. I had no choice. I went home and I immediately told everything to Mom and Dad. First, they laughed at my situation. But in the evening, the teacher called, and they realized the situation was not funny at all. And then I had an endless series of conversations, accusations, persuasions. The girls wrote a complaint against me, accusing me of sexual harassment. Apparently, the school management didn't want a public scandal and reputational damage, so they had to come up with an idea. Well, they put an injunction on me, forbidding me to approach any girl from school closer than 5 feet. I even had to sit at a separate desk in the farthest corner of the classroom. Of course, rumors immediately started. People started calling me pervert. Lots of them said I had molested some girls before and even raped someone. It's just they all kept silent and were confused to tell anybody about it. Anyway, everyone started to avoid me. And no one cared. I wanted nothing from these girls. The only thing I wanted was to save my gecko. I was just saving my gecko. As a cherry on top, after experiencing such stress, my gecko got sick. Now all day long he does nothing but lie at the bottom of the terrarium. Just sometimes he shows his muzzle. My parents are trying to persuade me to make a public statement about what really had happened, but I don't know. Will it fix anything? The principal wouldn't even listen to me. What would you do in my place? Would you defend yourself? Or would you give up on that and just finish your senior year with a pervert label on you? Do you really think I can fix the situation somehow? Type your answers in the comments. I will read them and answer everyone. Please help me make the right decision. And that's it for today. Bye. Thanks for watching.